Welcome back to Nation of Glory. Tonight, we dive into one of the most emotional and unforgettable nights in professional wrestling history. Wrestlepalooza 2025 had its fair share of epic matches, shocking returns, and moments that shook the very foundation of the wrestling world, but nothing compared to the announcement that would leave millions of fans around the globe speechless. The legendary Undertaker himself stepped into the spotlight, not to deliver a chilling warning, not to set his eyes on another soul to bury, but to honor someone who has been at the heart of WWE for decades. With his voice heavy with respect and his presence commanding the attention of the entire arena, The Undertaker announced that Stephanie McMahon would be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. And that, my friends, was the moment where history was made. The crowd inside the arena erupted with a roar that seemed to shake the very foundations of Wrestlepalooza. It wasn't just cheers, it was waves of gratitude, acknowledgement, and respect for a woman who has lived her life inside the WWE ring, boardroom, and family legacy. Stephanie McMahon has been many things to WWE fans: the villain we love to hate, the strong leader behind the scenes, the daughter of the visionary Vince McMahon, the wife of Triple H, and above all, one of the most influential figures in wrestling history. And hearing her induction announced by none other than the Deadman himself added a sense of reverence that words can barely describe. For years, fans have speculated about when Stephanie would finally get her Hall of Fame moment. She has carried storylines on her shoulders, made unforgettable promos, and stood as one of the cornerstones of the McMahon dynasty. But it wasn't just her last name that brought her to greatness, it was her ability to evolve with the business, to step into roles that tested her character, and to face the crowd whether they were booing her out of the building or standing on their feet applauding. Wrestlepalooza 2025 wasn't just a show, it was a culmination of decades of history. And when the lights dimmed, the gong struck, and The Undertaker walked slowly to the stage, the audience knew something monumental was about to happen. Imagine the scene: the arena bathed in darkness, the chilling toll of the bell echoing through the air, the smoke rising as The Undertaker appeared one more time in his iconic presence. For a moment, it felt like he was preparing for another legendary battle, but instead, he took the microphone, lifted his head, and spoke words that will be remembered forever: Stephanie McMahon, welcome to immortality. It wasn't just a line, it was a passing of respect from one legend to another. The camera cut to Stephanie, and tears filled her eyes. This was her moment, and there was no one better suited to deliver it than the Phenom himself. As Stephanie stood from her seat and embraced the fans' reaction, she wasn't just Vince McMahon's daughter anymore. She wasn't just the billion-dollar princess who once bossed wrestlers around. She wasn't just the authority figure who stood in the ring with Triple H. She was now Stephanie McMahon, WWE Hall of Famer. The history of her journey unfolded before everyone's eyes. From her debut on screen in the late 90s, when she was involved in one of the most controversial and captivating storylines with The Undertaker himself, to becoming a central figure in the Attitude Era, Stephanie always managed to carve her space. She played the villain with conviction, and yet off-screen, she was a tireless advocate for WWE's global growth, from charity events to brand expansions, pushing boundaries for women in the industry and proving that she was not just a character but a leader. The Undertaker's announcement was symbolic in so many ways. Fans remembered how he once played the dark villain who tried to marry Stephanie in one of WWE's most bizarre yet unforgettable storylines. To see him decades later, not as a foe, but as the man giving her the greatest honor of her life, felt like a story coming full circle. It was as if the wrestling world itself had tied a bow on decades of drama, rivalry, and storytelling by allowing the Deadman to be the one to send Stephanie into the Hall of Fame. And for the fans, it was perfect. The Wrestlepalooza crowd, filled with fans from across the globe, understood they were witnessing more than a wrestling storyline, it was a generational moment. Chants of "Thank you Stephanie" echoed in waves. Signs reading "Hall of Fame Princess" lit up the sea of people. The WWE Universe, which had once booed her mercilessly during her heel runs, now showered her with love, recognizing her contributions not just to the company but to the very culture of wrestling. As Stephanie took the stage later to speak, her words came from the heart. She thanked her late mother Linda for her guidance, her father Vince for instilling the dream, her brother Shane for being her partner in chaos during their countless on-screen battles, and her husband Triple H for being her rock and partner in life and business. But most importantly, she thanked the fans, acknowledging that without their love, their passion, and even their boos, none of it would have been possible. Her speech reminded everyone that the WWE Hall of Fame is not just about individual accomplishments, it's about the relationship between the performer and the people who have lived every storyline alongside them. The Undertaker's role in this announcement will be remembered as one of his final acts of service to WWE. It showed his immense respect, not just for the McMahon family, but for Stephanie as a person, who grew up in the business and gave everything she had back to it. It was a rare crossover of reality and storyline, a blending of the larger-than-life characters we love with the real human beings behind them. That's what made it so powerful. And that's why it will live in the hearts of fans for generations. Wrestlepalooza 2025 gave us incredible matches, but history will tell us that this was the night Stephanie McMahon was given her rightful place in the Hall of Fame, and The Undertaker himself sealed her legacy. It was a reminder that wrestling is not just about moves and championships, it's about stories, about family, about respect, and about the emotions that bring millions of us together. Stephanie McMahon is now immortalized, not just as a McMahon, but as one of the most iconic figures in WWE history. And as the lights dimmed once more, the fans knew they had witnessed something that transcended wrestling. A family legacy honored. A woman's journey celebrated. And a legend's final bow to another. That is what Nation of Glory is all about, telling the stories that make us feel, that remind us why we fell in love with this world in the first place. Thank you for joining us tonight as we celebrated this unforgettable Wrestlepalooza moment. Don't forget to subscribe to Nation of Glory, hit that like button, and share this story with your friends. Because the legacy of WWE lives on through moments like these, and we'll be right here to share them with you.